Check, check, check. 1, 2. Check, check. 1, 2. Test, test, test. How's that level there? 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. Test. 1, 2. All right, so I'm just going to give Jamie a dingle there. And see what he says about downstairs. It's working. Hey, there he is. I was just about to give you a call, so that's good. So it looks good. It's perfect. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. All right. Very good. Thank you. And should I leave a live mic on in the room? Just so people know we're in the room. What do you think? People talking. I think they'll just hear like a mumble in the background. I doubt they'll hear anything conversation-wise. All right. Very good. I'll just leave a live mic on. Oh, WebEx. I can hear you. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Just try that mic, Jamie.
Check 1, 2. Test 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Check 1, 2. Test 1, 2, 3.
I just wanted to come and say hi.
You're great.
You should have that one.
Yeah, that's right.
Remind
Where
me
you?
after.
You're still
I'm
going?
still getting Colonel Gray. Do I still go to her?
Well, no, are you still?
You know what?
Oh. Yeah. And how's your sister?
She's crazy as ever.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
guys on there, Philip?
I don't think they're on. Oh, mercy.
Test, test. Okay, that's good right there. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to, this is a public consultation meeting, and there are 3 items, but item B, 4B, is several parts, correct, Mr. Chair? There's a couple of parts in 4B, okay. And before I call to order, we do have a number of residents in the basement because of COVID-19 protocol. We're only allowed 50 in the room, and we're at our max right now. So if you're here for 4A, when that's completed, could you please leave or go downstairs if you wish to? But we're trying to bring those citizens, residents that are in the lower part of the building to come up and listen to whatever reason that they're here. So I'm going to call to order. Any declarations of conflicts? Councillors? None? Okay. Approval of the agenda. And I just want to add, do you want to add something there,
Yeah,
Councillor?
I have a little statement to make here that at your
Could I
pleasure.
just introduce the councillors
Sure.
first?
Yeah, sure.
Councillors Duran is to be coming in by WebEx. He's coming in from cyberspace. He's recuperating from his operation. Councillor McLeod is not able to make it because he was at the dentist today, and Councillor Rivard is school. Yes, he's studying to be a realtor. Okay, and to my far left, to your right, is Councillor Ramsey. Next to Councillor Ramsey is Deputy Mayor Jason Cody. Next to Deputy Mayor Cody is Councillor Terry Bernard, Councillor Julie McCabe, and to my immediate left is Councillor Alana Yankoff. And to my right and to your left is Councillor Michael Duffy, who is the new chair of Planning and Development. So this is his first meeting, and of course he's got some rules up there on the big screen to give you before we get started. And down at the extreme right is Councillor Mitchell Tweel. So I need approval for the agenda. Someone want to move that? Moved by Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor Ramsey. All in favor?
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Councillor Michael Duffy, and he's going to go over some of the rules that he has up here for the meeting.
Thank you,
Councillor
Your Worship. As the mayor has indicated, we have a few rules that we would like to follow in order to have an orderly meeting here tonight. Well, I'd like to welcome to tonight's public meeting you all. Council is pleased that you have joined us, whether in person or on WebEx or live stream. As the mayor has indicated, my name is Mike Duffy. I'm the new chair of the city's Planning and Heritage Committee. And before the mayor starts the formal session, I'd like to go over a few rules as noted in the City Council's procedure bylaw. After a brief presentation, staff presentation, each applicant will be allotted a maximum of 10 minutes to provide a project overview, at which time members of council will be allowed to ask questions of clarity, remembering not to give their opinion on the projects, as they are to remain neutral until the process is complete. Once council has finished asking questions of clarity, the public will be given an opportunity to speak, at which time each participant will be provided 5 minutes in which to provide their comments, whether for or against or otherwise. While a member of the public is speaking, others are asked to show respect and decorum to all participants, maintain quiet and order, refrain from disturbing the proceedings by words, gestures, or actions, including applauding, displaying flags, placards, or similar material, refrain from talking on electronic mobile devices, and ensure that all electronic devices are silent and operated in such a manner that does not interfere with the meeting or with another person's ability to hear or view the proceedings. Again, folks, thank you very, very much for joining us. We appreciate your interest and involvement in the city's planning process. I will now hand the meeting back over to His Worship Mayor Brown. Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. And Councillor Duffy, I do like the issue about showing respect and decorum to all participants. I think that it helps to move the meeting along in a very friendly and collaborative way. So we'll open up with 4A. Do you want to start off by reading aloud what it is there, Councillor Duffy?
Thank you, Your Worship. 4A is MacRae Drive, Norwood Drive, PID number 192401. It's a request to rezone a portion of the property from the single detached residential R1L zone to the low-density residential, which is R2 zone, in order to create a subdivision containing a combination of single detached dwellings and semi-detached dwellings.
And the presenter is Mr. Morrison?
Greg Morrison, Mr. Morrison.
All right, so as Councillor Duffy has indicated, this is a request to rezone a portion of the property from the single detached residential R1L zone to the low density residential R2 zone. It's located on the corner of MacRae Drive and Norwood Road. So the parcel that is in question today is highlighted in black. The photo on your left is just a general topography map showing the elevation of the property done by the surveyor for the project. And the photo on the right is the proposal that's at hand. So the gray portion is obviously a street that is being proposed. The yellow is single attached dwellings, which will remain not being rezoned, and the orange is the two-unit dwellings. So semi-detached dwellings. In total, there are 30 semi-detached dwellings proposed for a total of 60 units, 5 single-detached dwellings. Obviously, there's a landscaped open space that surrounds the existing property. And here's just some general renderings of how the subdivision would be laid out with topography built into it. So the applicant and a representative of the applicant are all here, and I can answer any questions that may come up.
Does the applicant, Mr. Cloud, do you want to say anything? Do you want to go up there, sir, please, and just introduce yourself? Thank you. I would use the podium.
Good evening. My name is Daryl McDonald. I'm here to speak on behalf of my family in relation to the land on MacRae Drive. One of the owners of the land is my mother-in-law, Norma Ashley, who's 80 years old and used to work the land with her father, Wilford Holmes. Norma resides in Nova Scotia with her husband of 59 years, and they went to elementary school together on Union Road, now called MacRae Drive, in East Royalty, before it was ever known as part of the city of Charlottetown. Parcel of land has been in the Holmes family for over a century. It's held a special place in my heart for nearly 35 years since meeting Norma's daughter, Esther. My wife grew up walking through those fields that were pictured on the screen, and the place has always been called home by her. Our desire is to retire to this same land. Wilford Holmes knew that the city would one day come out to meet the country, and that the family farm would one day be something other than a family farm. With that in mind, he wanted the land to be a property used to be an area to be proud of. He entrusted the land to his daughters, Norma and Joyce, and made his wishes clear. You will find no people more personally invested in making the property a proud legacy to the Holmes family on Prince Edward Island. What's being requested is a high-quality residential environment, allowing for houses to meet the current and future needs of citizens of Charlottetown. It's an area that will be well-planned, well-designed, and well-serviced, and that's what's being proposed here. It's clear that the council and city planners desire to do things right when it comes to land use within the city, especially with the rapid growth and short supply we've seen in recent years. The developer has this same desire, as is evident in the nearby Horseshoe Hill Estates development that was also part of Wilfred and Alice Holmes' farm. This is a community where both residential and semi-detached houses of high quality demonstrate a wise use of land and the quality infrastructure that residents are looking for. A place with proper street widths for safety, proper storm drains, quality homes with sufficient driveways for parking for today's families, underground services designed to maintain a sense of quality and lifestyle that people currently desire. This type of development produces quality citizens who contribute effectively to the city's growth and economy, not to mention its tax base. The interest of the extended Holmes family, including myself, is to continue the great legacy and to see the land continue to be managed with quality and respect that it deserves. The city has indeed come to the country, but you'll find no one who is more interested in developing this land in a respectful manner than the developer that is proposing this. Others may desire to fill the land with ditches or culverts or high-density buildings or even industrial equipment, but the Holmes family is interested in this parcel of land being a lasting legacy of quality family housing, a neighborhood to be proud of. I would urge that you support Mr. and Mrs. McLeod's plan in ensuring a viable neighborhood that we can all be proud of, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. So, Greg, you'll be here to answer any questions. Are you available to answer questions also, Leroy? Okay. Okay, so we'll open up the mic just immediately in front of, between Councillor Duffy and myself. We have a red, yellow, green mechanism. Green means you're good to go. Yellow means you're caution. Red means you have to stop talking. We have to keep everything condensed because we want to be fair and equitable to all the residents and participants here today. So the two mics are open. We do have sanitizer there on the table, mask, wipes, so we're trying to respect the COVID-19 protocols. So the mic's open. It's your choice. They're there to use if you wish.
All right, I'm short. Okay, hi there. Mr. Mayor, Your Worship, councillors, Deputy Mayor. My name is Kelly Mooney, and I live at the very end of MacRae Drive at 265 MacRae, right at the very top of where the proposed installation is being proposed for. And we had visited this situation a couple of years ago in July. And I've just gone over the paperwork here and noticing that the only real difference between then and now is that there are 3 single-family dwellings being proposed for the very top of MacRae Drive. And also in the writings it says that, that the single-family dwellings are to mirror the single-family dwellings that are existing there already. But I do see that there's the 3 that are at the top of the street, then down in the middle you have the single-family dwelling, and right beside that, that's where the semi-detached starts. So that, in my view, doesn't really mirror what's around that area. Does Mr. McLeod also own Parent Street, that development as well? No, okay. I have a lot of questions here, but maybe I'll just go ahead. So the real kind of concerns that we have in the neighborhood is with the addition of up to 60 semi-detached, plus along with 5 proposed single-family dwellings. You're looking at a propensity of possibly about 130 more cars there. And right now it's pretty much impossible to get out of MacRae Drive. And I know that there are other exit routes sort of being proposed there, one of them being Norwood Road, but we all know that that road isn't developed and is not plowed in the wintertime and is really not fit for travel. There's a lot of industrial trucks going in and out of there, not to mention the amount of people who walk their animals around that area. In MacRae Drive, that dead-end road where we live there, there's no shoulder on the road, there are no sidewalks, there's very little nighttime lighting. Just wondering if all that infrastructure is going to be put into place before this big development goes in there. I know ourselves, we've got 3 dogs and meet many, many dogs and humans and babies and children on that street. And just have a real concern about the amount of traffic that's going to be going up and down that road. Not to mention even going farther down, there's not even any sidewalks that are installed until you get down to Parent Street. Again, no shoulders on the side of the road. Lots of people walking their dogs and their kids and themselves out for exercise. And most people, and I'm talking like 99% of the people, do not get off the street when a car is approaching. So I know I've had it happen myself many, many times, and I'm sure all of you have as well, where there's 2 cars meeting, one car has to stop. And one of these times, one of those cars isn't going to stop and somebody's going to get hurt, especially with the addition of up to 150 more cars in that area. So I'm looking at the minutes from the October 23rd meeting here. And it says here, yeah, so Councillor McCabe asked if Norwood Road is owned by the city and could it be paved. If that was a possibility, you know, that would be a wonderful thing. But I think if that was going to happen, it probably should happen before the development went in, if that is going to be a viable escape route, let's say, from the area. Also, farther down in the minutes, it says the current proposal is a compromise to address the concerns of the residents. When we had these meetings a few years ago, he wanted to put in pretty much all semi-detached. And what our compromise as a community was, we would like to see all of MacRae Drive as single-family dwellings. At that time, it was 10 lots. Now it's 9. So he has proposed 3 single-family dwellings, which is a nice start. But again, we would like to see just MacRae Drive, all of single-family units. And at that time, when we suggested it, he flatly refused to even consider that. You know, because it was a concern that it would be better off financially for him to have more semi-detached units go in there. So I also noted here that it's been stated a few times in these minutes that residents are getting used to development in the area and that we are more accepting of duplexes or semi-detached. I would like to know what that's based on because no one asked me. So I don't know where that information has come from. So now I was looking at the application and noted here that he wants to place the current subdivision similar to what's in Horseshoe Hills Estates in East Royalty, and that is it's a lovely division that's in here. There are a lot of really lovely buildings in there, but I wonder if are these semi-detached going to be modeled after the really beautiful 2-story semi-detached that are going in, or the single-story semi-detached that are in there, which again are still quite lovely, but just wondering which is it going to be. And I know the last time we did speak about this, I had asked Mr. McLeod directly, does he have control if someone buys a lot? Can they put on whatever they want as far as is it a semi-detached or is it a single-family dwelling? And if memory serves, it was whatever the buyer decided they wanted to build. And my follow-up question was, so is it a possibility that we could see all semi-detached on every single lot? And at that time, the answer was yes.
Okay.
So again, that's another concern.
Kelly, can we just conclude? It's now 5.5 minutes.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay. Yeah, I think I pretty much covered
And you can
anything.
forward those thoughts via email.
Okay. Yeah, just one more quick thing is just that, again, trying to get out of the area, talking about McWilliams Road, MacRae Drive, and Norwood Road. Like McWilliams Road is being developed already, so you're just adding more traffic onto more traffic. But anyway, thank you for your time.
Greg, did you want to answer that question that Kelly asked about the R1 semi-detached?
Yeah, so the properties that remain in the R1 zone, they would only be permitted for single attached. The properties that would be rezoned R2 could either be single attached or semi. So yes, you could see all R2 developed as semi-detached, but the yellow R1 properties are not permitted to be semi-detached dwellings.
So but right now, at the bottom of the street, those are all R1 at the moment, yes? The ones that are now being proposed for R2?
That's correct, yeah. So the ones, if the rezoning is successful, these properties could be are a single detached or a semi-detached.
Okay, but the ones up top would have to stay single?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, Kelly? And if you want to follow up, please send an email. Is it Greg, planning@charlottetown.ca?
That's it.
Yep. Okay, the mic is open, and please state your name. You don't have to state where you're from, like your address, but Charlottetown would be a good place to start. There's 2 mics. Please take the opportunity.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex O'Hara. I work for Allen Surveying and Engineering and represent Leroy McLeod in this development. The designs were actually my ideas and were taken largely from feedback from the prior meeting 2 years ago, as described by Mrs. Mooney. And with that in mind, the 5 remaining R1 developments in the immediate proximity to the existing R1 developments were in consideration with keeping streetscape and not to affect or minimally affect as much as possible the development on existing current residents. The drive behind R2 developments in this area was really to do with it's the only affordable price point for first-time home buyers and PEI within the range of $250,000 to $300,000. R1 developments generally don't sell for much less than $400,000, so this development wasn't driven purely for monetary means, but to offer a solution to the low-income housing crisis and PEI, excuse me. With regards to roads, it seems to be one of the major concerns. There's 4 current main arterial roads onto St. Peter's, which is the main route and in the Charlottetown, with quite substantial infrastructural development to facilitate that traffic flow. I do assume that with the investment and the tax revenue coming from this development, that there will be infrastructural improvements with regards to sidewalks and roads, especially on Norwood, I assume, but that, of course, is not for me to say. So I just felt maybe that would put at ease a little bit Mrs. Mooney's mind, and I also would like to add addressing any concerns that might arise after I sit down as someone who proposed the development. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. As I said, the mic's open. It's a live mic. Do we go on to the next agenda item?
One sec, you're there, Your Worship. Bruce Ferguson, I also live up at the end of MacRae Drive there with my better half, Kelly, at 256 MacRae. Just wondering what your plans are for Norwood Road there, if this development decides to go ahead. Are you looking at paving that? Because I know in the wintertime it's unused. The city was in recently throwing down some reclaimed asphalt in there and trying to smooth out the bumps. I've noticed a substantial amount of traffic has increased in there since they've started doing some work down around the roundabout there and people trying to shortcut and get through to Norwood Road and cut some time off instead of having to wait. I'm just wondering what's the city's thoughts on that, if they know at this time, or if the planning department knows what's going to go forward there. Also, I read the letter from the gentleman that owns the dredging company and construction companies down there, and I am a little concerned about the road coming out at his property with the amount of heavy trucks going through there, plus Island Construction, the pit that's in the back there. Island Coastal, I believe it's Island Coastal, have that as a dump site. So there's continuous truck traffic going in that back road with a lot of trucks going through there. So I'd be a little concerned about the amount of traffic there, heavy traffic with regards to public safety and stuff like that. I think that would be an issue in that point there, that sidewalks would be mandatory if this goes ahead down there, expressly for, there's a school bus stop right at the end of MacRae Drive there that picks up any of the kids on our street there. So right down the corner of MacRae Drive and East Worldy Road, there's a
Yeah.
school bus stop there. So there should be something going in there for that, if this is at all considered.
Yeah, Bruce, that road that is in behind the airport,
Yeah.
the Norwood Road,
Yeah.
it would require extensive work. And the C&D site, construction debris site, there's one by, I think, owned by Island Coastal, and I think Bobby McKay owns another one. So a lot of work would be required, but lights for street lamps for sure, sidewalks.
Yeah,
In the area,
the infrastructure would have to go in because it wouldn't be safe there for people walking along. And I know I'm out, as Kelly said, we have 3 little dogs, and I'm out walking them, and there's a lot of traffic there, and you've got to get off the street,
Yeah.
especially when the trucks come through. So I just thought I'd put my 2 cents worth in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we're going to move on to 4B. Is Laura presenting that? Okay. So Laura Palmer Thompson will be presenting the 4B, a portion of 505. Do you want to read it there, councillors?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. 4B is a portion of 505 Malpeque Road, PID number 145466, and a portion of the properties along Patry Lane, PID numbers 1117-167 and 676213. The request is to rezone the following: a portion of the property, approximately 17,000 square feet, at 505 Malpeque Road, PID number 145466, from highway commercial C2 to single detached residential large R1L. A portion of the property at 505 Malpeque Road, PID 145466, from the highway commercial C2 zone to the open space zone. A portion of the properties along Patry Lane, PID numbers 1117-167 and 676213, from open space to single detached residential large R1L. And amend the official plan for the following: a portion of the property, approximately 17,000 square feet, at 505 Malpeque Road, PID number 145466, from commercial to low-density residential. A portion of the property at 505 Malpeque Road, PID number 145466, from commercial to recreational. And a portion of the property along Patry Lane, PID number 676213, from recreational to low-density residential. A portion of the property along Patry Lane, PID number 1117-167, from commercial to low-density residential, in order to construct a single detached dwelling. Laura?
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council. This is an application to rezone a portion of PID number 145466 to create a lot for a single detached dwelling. And the proposed lot is right here. The property is bound to the north by C2 zone land, to the east by Malpeque Road, a single detached dwelling on the property. You can see up here, it's located there. And to the south by Patry Lane with C2 zone land containing semi-detached dwellings. And to the west, it's immediately adjacent to land that's zoned open space with R1L zone land further west of the parkland. So our park is here, and then we've got some additional R1L zone land. So the subject lot, if developed, it'll be approximately 17,000 square feet with frontage on Patry Lane. The land is currently zoned C2 highway commercial, and it's part of a 1.74 acre parcel of land fronting on Malpeque Road. And the overall parcel is right here. So it goes from this dark green strip right to Malpeque Road. So the proposal is to sever off a lot at the back of the property and construct a single detached dwelling with frontage on Patry Lane. The yellow is the proposed lot, and this is where it would gain frontage. There's currently a small strip of open space land that separates this property from having frontage and access onto Patry Lane. And this strip of land is right here. It's sort of rectangular. It goes around the cul-de-sac and comes up. So planning staff has consulted with staff in the Parks and Recreation Department, and their recommendation is to deed this portion of land along Patry Lane to give frontage to this property for access, provided the property is rezoned to allow for a single detached dwelling. In exchange, the property owner will deed a strip of land adjacent to the city's larger parkland parcel equal to the area the city deeds for frontage on Patry Lane. So the applicant would deed a portion of land along the city's larger parcel in exchange for this piece of land down here. So therefore, no parkland would be lost. The land the city deeds along Patry Lane will be rezoned to R1L, single detached residential, and the strip of land deeded to the city by the property owner would be rezoned to open space. So this piece here would be rezoned to open space. The land the applicant is proposing to deed as parkland is more beneficial to the city as it is adjacent to the larger parkland parcel and contains a hedgerow of trees. So you can see here in the aerial, there's a hedgerow of trees here adjacent to our parkland. The piece that we would be giving the applicant is right along Patry Lane, and there isn't enough room there for the city to use for parkland equipment or there is no connector for a trail or anything, so it's not as great a benefit as this piece would be. This would actually add additional space to the parkland, and we would be able to protect that hedgerow of trees. So Patry Lane, if this piece would be deeded to the applicant, it would remain a dead-end street and will have direct frontage on the parkland parcel. So the city, we wouldn't lose our frontage on Patry Lane to the parkland parcel. Access into our greater parkland parcel would be right here. This wouldn't change. So the applicants are here to speak to the application and answer any questions that the public or council may have, and I can also answer questions if there's any questions from the public. So just go from there.
Okay, Laurel, thank you. Do you wish to speak to it? Okay, you can use the mic here, or you can go up to the podium, whatever you wish. And please introduce yourselves. Thank you.
Hello. I didn't make any fancy notes, so I'll just try to do this off the cuff. But my name is Jared Murphy, and this is my wife, Chelsea, who's providing support for me in front of all of these people that are staring at me. Yeah, so just a brief little history of where this idea kind of came to fruition was that my parents currently own the property 505 Malpeque Road, and Chelsea and I are in the market for a home in Charlottetown, and my parents are willing to subdivide the back of their property for us to build our home on. And it would just be a single family home for me and Chelsea. And as Laurel kind of mentioned, there's a bit of green space that we would need access over that is really not much use of a green space right now. It's about, I don't know, 15 feet of ditch or tree line between the cul-de-sac on Patry Lane and the subdivided piece being proposed. Yeah, we have pictures of the house too. I don't know if I've got a clicker button. Yeah, so that's, we have the builder that would be building the home if the project was approved, so he can answer any questions too. But I think that's pretty well all we have to say. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. So Laurel will stay there, and if you have any questions to answer, just grab one of the mics. Okay, so the mics are open, and if you please use the mic, if you don't mind, and just give us your name, and everything's up there to sanitize the mic and keep you safe.
I think I'm even shorter than the last person who was here. My name is Teresa Murphy. No relation, I think, to the applicants. And I'm a 4-year resident of Patry Lane. We call it Patry Lane. We know it's named after a Patrick and a Marie. Patry Lane. And I did a submission today, as I think a couple of other people did, opposing just one aspect of the application, which is that triangular area. If we could see that photo again of the proposed change. The little triangular area that is frontage onto Patry Lane.
Right there.
We adamantly oppose that little triangle right there, exactly. I have a few extra copies of my submission, but not enough for everyone. I don't know if you would like to have them, but I will quickly go through them and do my very best to stay within the 5 minutes. I think it's possible. So what this letter summarizes is the views of my household, as well as in a lot of kind of frantic discussion on our street over the last 3 days. We've had quite a few people who were pretty shell-shocked at discovering a rezoning application had been put in because they were totally unaware of it until we started talking to a few more people Sunday morning, 2 days ago. But in any case, here's my submission. As pending new homeowners on Patry Lane, we feel blindsided by this rezoning application, specifically affecting Patry Lane. The proposed change will fundamentally change the character of our short and already much trafficked street. We made a decision, my husband and I, to purchase the property we've rented for 4 years. As residents during this period, we have treasured the relative peace and quiet of the cul-de-sac, allowing us and others to enjoy the characteristics that a street ending in a turnaround cul-de-sac is designed to offer. There is something special about a cul-de-sac, and it's specifically something that's a dead-end street with very limited traffic on it, with a turnaround. And that means relative safety, and it means relative quiet for residents of all ages and degrees of mobility. We are afraid that rezoning would add an additional driveway entrance and deprive us of a portion of the recreational land. We don't see the replacement recreational land as a benefit to our street as much as that tiny strip that we already have there. So we see the following negative effects. An increase in vehicular traffic is our greatest fear. Even one additional driveway access presents a threat to all residents, but particularly to the parents of young children and to the mobility-challenged residents who specifically bought their homes to be able to use the cul-de-sac area of the street safely. Please note that we don't have a sidewalk on Patry Lane, so people are forced to walk on the streets. And we do have people on scooters who are mobility challenged with various ambulatory assistants who walk around the cul-de-sac, and that's the only part of the street they can get some exercise on safely. We also have a problem of there are already far too many non-residential vehicles on our street. For some reason, we have heavy construction trucks using Patry Lane as a turnaround. So we already feel somewhat threatened by that. And they have no business on our street. They're just coming in and turning around and leaving. The second point is that we do value the very limited green space strip that's threatened by this application. It is well used by residents for gatherings of neighbors, of family, and friends. It's not very much land, but it's all we have on that street. We have a crappy park that's not well maintained, but for family gatherings, that tiny strip of land is used. So we're asking that that public recreation land be maintained for the social gatherings and the safety of the people who use it. There's also a degree of environmental degradation that comes along with opening access into the cul-de-sac. There would be a loss of trees and other flora that provide protection to small animals. We know there's at least one fox den and maybe a couple in that area because we see the foxes in the early morning and at dusk. There's a variety of birds and other small animals that use the space. And there's also something that's really important to us because we're looking right over at that area. There's a loss of visual appeal from the trees that are there. Once those trees are removed and other vegetation is taken away, and we consider that loss to be unacceptable. And finally, there is something about the value of properties on a cul-de-sac. People have paid a premium to live on Padre Lane, pardon me, because it is a cul-de-sac. We're just in the process of closing a sale, and there are 12 other properties that have changed hands. They've got a whole bunch of new homeowners or pending new homeowners on there that are not expecting this. And we know that there are better driveway options. We want to let the Murphy applicants know we're not opposed to the rezoning for residential purposes or to the addition of recreation land if you choose to do that. We are only opposed to this one section of the application. We always like to have good neighbors and would welcome your presence. But we also worry about if you open the cul-de-sac now, a future concern is who else might ask for this? What else might happen in terms of blowing holes in the cul-de-sac that is the way it is, the way it was designed? There's an integrity to the design, which is what the buyers on Padre Lane want to keep.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Did you wish to address it, or do you want to just leave it and go back? Okay. Yeah. Anyone else? Just use one of the two mics, mic 1, mic 2. Laura's ready to answer questions too. Okay. Just announce your name, sir, and where you're from.
Hi, excuse me. Hi, my name's Steve Forshaw. I live on Padre Lane. First of all, congratulations on wanting to build a house on a wonderful, wonderful street. It's a great choice. That said, there are some concerns, as you've obviously heard tonight. I'm going to voice a couple as well. So, as you notice, there is a very small park there at the end of the cul-de-sac. People that come to visit families on the street, they park in that cul-de-sac. Where are they going to park now? If you take away that corner lot, which is basically all the parking that we have for that entire street, where are they going to park to be able to take full advantage of that park? They're not going to be able to, unfortunately, okay? So therefore, you've just rendered that park unusable to the majority of the people that come to that street to visit their families, okay? The other thing is that street itself has been mentioned a couple of times. We've had a lot of heavy truck traffic the last little while. There's a house that's being built at the end, and I don't know if they are using those construction trucks are using it, but there has been a lot of construction vehicles coming up and down that street. That street, we've had a couple of cave-ins on the road already due to the heavy weight. It's not graded properly for heavy traffic, okay? I can't see that, sorry. I'm sorry? Okay. So from an infrastructure standpoint, what is going to be done to ensure that that road is well maintained? Now, I do have a question for you as well as the builders in regards to when would you be planning to build this during the spring and summer? Because as you know, that is the most active time for kids to be out playing. That is a very heavily used park by the kids on our street. So if you've got a lot of construction traffic coming up and down there to build that house, that is going to interfere with their ability to do that. Okay, that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yep. Just come right to the mic and we'll get you a green light here. Everything's in lights. Okay, yeah, just introduce yourself, please, and where you're from.
My name is Lynn McDonald.
Yes.
We live at 23 Patry Lane. My husband's not able to make it this evening, but I'm here representing him as well. I have a letter here that my husband sent to Jason Cody. We spoke with Jason last week at the house as well. We've lived on Patry Lane for 8 years, so we've witnessed most developments in the subdivision. We selected this location because it was a cul-de-sac that provided a quiet, private, and safe environment. As the subdivision has grown, the number of families has increased and a good sense of community has developed. We've met all kinds of ages, stages in life. It's really a good community, and we love it there. Not unexpectedly, the vehicle traffic on the street has increased, but is still manageable. But as Steve noted, I don't know why those heavy trucks loaded with dirt are turning around in our street all the time, but they do. Since we do not have sidewalks, children play in the street and the green space that surrounds the circular garden. We don't have sidewalks, the street isn't all that wide, but the kids all come down there to play in the cul-de-sac and in the park. We're very concerned about any increase in traffic and a blind driveway exiting across the green space onto Patry Lane. Not much green space was provided in the development plan. I have one of the originals here. It happened to be left in our kitchen drawer. And given the whole street, that's all the green space we get. That's it. It just happens to go around the edge of the cul-de-sac, and that's it. And we really treasure what we've got there. Increased traffic will also mean that children accessing the school bus on the corner of Patry Lane and Highway 2 will be subject to increased danger. For the safety of young children and seniors with mobility challenges, which Teresa mentioned, and that's where they go, is around the circle, who use the circle as a play and exercise area, we ask that the rezoning proposal be dropped. We are aware that some residents are concerned about the value of their property decreasing. Some of these folks recently bought their homes on the understanding that the green space would remain as per the subdivision plan, so any change is not acceptable. There is also fear that further development could be on the horizon. As Teresa mentioned, there has been a lot of chit-chat on the street about it and concern. So she and I just wanted to double check with all of the residents on the street. We spoke with people on our side of the street. Other people did the other side of the street. Everybody signed a petition saying that they wish not to have this development go ahead. We just don't want to open it up to further traffic and further disruption on the cul-de-sac. It's treed, it's beautiful. I sent some pictures to Jason today. We really treasure what we've got there. And another driveway would just take those trees out of that space, because the other entry is the entry into the park and then the other duplexes. Those are the only trees that we've got. So we treasure them. And other than safety for the kids, because there are a lot of little kids that play around in there, that's a great deal of our concern. So I think I've addressed, did I get everything?
Yeah.
I think so.
Just one second. Councillor Bernard, do you have a question for?
Yeah, I do. More of a clarification, I think, because the map that you showed me, could I see that again with the green space? Because I believe what was on the map here
Doesn't show the green space.
Yeah, all that green is green space. It's not just around the cul-de-sac.
Because it's an open space, it's a park.
No.
Correct?
No, all that's green space
Yeah,
behind.
no, I know.
What you see up there in green is all green space. Yeah, yeah. It's not just what's around the cul-de-sac, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, that may have been added too, but that green up there on the map, that's all green space. That's city property. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have to use, it's a public meeting, so we have to use the mic so that we can publicly record everything that's being stated here.
Yeah, sorry, that's...
No, that's, no, I
I
believe
understand
Councilor
the
Bernard had
point
just
that was
clarified it.
being made, but my point too is that that's all bog, basically, in there. It's full of mosquitoes.
What, the park?
Yeah, unfortunately. There's a little creek that runs in behind in the trees, and it comes down through the easement onto Evergreen, but it's badly drained, and in the spring, it's really quite a mess. But the property in behind it's not used as a park at all. It's not really joined onto the park area where we have some swings and a slide.
Okay, and there's just one other question, Councilor McCabe?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, works, sorry. Thank you. Laurel, this would be more for you. I'm just clarifying, you said that this property is zone C2 commercial?
Yes.
That they're trying to rezone for?
Just one moment. Yes, it is.
Okay. Can you tell me then, as of right, what would be allowed to be placed on that property if it's not rezoned?
As of right, multi-unit dwellings, retail, commercial retail. There's a number of uses within the highway commercial zone that could be placed on that property. So basically, the zoning on that property is as of right, and they could gain access through Malpeque Road, negotiate access with the province to develop that property. Just one other point I want to clarify too. Some of the residents are talking about the trees along the cul-de-sac. I just wanted to clarify that this boundary is actually the boundary for the property, and that the trees are owned by the property owner, not the city. I think there might be one tree here on the city property, but that land is owned by the property owner. So I'm not sure if the residents think that that land is city property, but it isn't.
Okay.
If I could address that too, there are far more trees on that area than shows in that photograph. The trees come right out to the edge of the road, basically. There's just one strip that gets mowed by the lawnmower down through there, and that's it.
This is our property. We've got the boundaries mapped on
Yes.
top of and it's showing where the trees are.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that all around the edge of the cul-de-sac, the trees really come right up to the edge of the street.
Okay. Councillor Yankoff, do you have a question for Laura Lee, or? Yeah, no, you put a fresh button there.
First time. Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for your report, Laurel. Just to clarify, when you say that if we were to leave this as of right, potentially somebody could put a retail store right in that cul-de-sac?
Potentially they could. Actually, if you look at the homes on Petrie Lane, they're also Zone C2. So these two properties right here could also be developed with multi-unit or commercial development. The properties that are on it currently are all semi-detached dwellings. They're developed, but if a developer chose to come in, that zoning would also allow for other development.
That would certainly increase the traffic too. Okay, thank you so much.
Sir, just use one of the mics and just announce your name.
Good evening. My name is Gerard Chasen. This is my wife, Cheryl. We are one of the couples that went and just recently bought a dwelling on Petrie Lane. First off, it didn't take too long for everything got to blow open once Fogarty's poor Al decided to sell them all off. And most aren't closed yet. Ours is no more than closed. Got a property, finally got our property taxes, whatever. And then now all of a sudden it's just like you're putting a threat. You either let me build that on there, or I'll put a 7-Eleven or something else in that spot. So it's just like either come and let us bust a hole in there, or we're gonna do what you might not like at all. My grandkids, there's quite a few grandkids that play in that area. There's no park. That park is a joke because it is a swamp in the spring. It's so unlevel, you can barely get a kid across there on a walk or in a stroller. Her husband could never think of getting across there on a walker he's got because mobility issues. So don't tell us that that was like this gentleman here wants to build. It's a ditch. It's not a ditch. You can make it what you want, but if you ever drove in around there and watched the kids play around there, that's a little piece of paradise. But if that's what you feel you got to do is blackmail and say we either put it in there or we're going to put something bigger, so be it. Just one.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask one thing then?
Could you use the mic if you're going to respond?
Could I ask? Okay, so in off Melody Lane, that whole new development's going in there. Is it not I walked in there, and I see it's not a chance that you could make your right away in through there. You wouldn't have to go through the park. It's up.
Yeah.
You would have to come
That whole
through.
area is being developed.
This is the city park.
I know.
The developer for this property is actually deeding parkland here. In order to gain access to this street, you would have to come through the city, the greater part of the park, and through the lots that are proposed here to gain access
Well,
here.
you know the way that you got your little dot on there in that new development area? Every time you turn around, you go in there, they got a different venue of where they're going with the street. You're telling me they're not eventually going to go up around towards where he's going? And you can come off that?
No, this street is proposed to come down here and connect.
I know it
Connect on the
is,
main.
but it's not going to take a right then and go towards his way?
No, it's not.
No? Okay.
And sir, just to clarify, I know that the councillors mentioned that it's a C2. There are permitted uses. All they were saying is that there are other uses under C2.
I know that.
And it's just to clarify that this is not, we're not holding anyone hostage. I think we're just trying to get information out. That's all it is.
Okay.
Okay. Mics are open. Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name's Joel. I've lived there for 8 years on Patry Lane. And I'm just curious, will our land taxes go up if this house goes in? Because it's a large house. And I'd like to know, has any of the council members actually been up there?
Yep. I know the area. And I've been up to the park.
Yes?
Yeah.
Anyone like to see a photo, current? Because that photo that she showed in Google Earth doesn't represent what's there. Not even close. It's very beautiful. So for 8 years, I've enjoyed that and watch my daughter learn to ride her bike, grandkids, everybody. I'm just concerned, why can't we build a road on your parents' property instead of busting that up? And to trade that piece of land, that is a joke. That's a bog. Look right there. See the park? Half of that park is not even usable. It's just it's a bog behind there. So you're trading us, the front for the back, and we don't even get the use of it. I see kids playing in the woods here. I see, like you said, foxes' dens. I see lots of wildlife. To trade that green space for the other one, it's unacceptable.
Yeah. Okay, ma'am, just introduce yourself and your location. You can respond at the end.
My name's Jennifer McKinnon. I actually am not from Patry Lane, but here to support my neighbors. I'm on Evergreen Drive. I've lived on Evergreen Drive since I was a kid. So that's going on 45 years now. And I can guarantee that behind that little section of park, we used to collect tadpoles. It was a pond. It's now marshy, and it is. We don't use that park anymore. because of the mosquitoes, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to speak and I wasn't planning on it. However, in support of my neighbors, that little piece of green, especially for those who have purchased and are in the process of purchasing, took into account that small little space. And now it's being taken away from them. I understand both sides, however, that's just not fair, I don't think. Right? If that was me, I took into account that little space of green, as small as it is. Stop taking our green spaces away. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Ma'am, are you just making a closing point?
Very quick point.
Yeah.
Because while we have enjoyed this, we've transformed that center that used to be grass, and it's become a beautiful garden in there with daylilies and irises. It has added so much to the beauty of that circle itself. So it's a really special place to us. It's not just a cul-de-sac.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Members of council. My name is Sherry Vesey. I live on Petrie Lane for the last 22 days since I took possession, and quite happily so. I searched for 3 years to find just the right property where, although there are no sidewalks, it's a small property, easy for one person to maintain, with a cul-de-sac, a little dead-end street that we don't get a lot of extra traffic. And it's fully developed. Like, really, we're not expecting, I certainly wasn't expecting in my new home, in my new neighborhood where I walk my dog multiple times a day, to suddenly be faced with an opening to the cul-de-sac, a new home, or potential businesses, or what have you. It's just so discouraging. And for myself, 8 years ago, when I was faced with a brain tumor and 2 brain surgeries, then was forced into early medical retirement from my job with Veterans Affairs. Then I had to give up my home in Cornwall, my large home and a large property, which I was no longer able to take care of myself. I've searched for this home for 3 years, and now I have a beautiful little home on this wonderful little street with terrific neighbors. I've spoken to almost all of them already, and so many are dog owners or cat owners or family people, and it is so lovely and small and contained, and it would just be a sin if this were allowed to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Just looking for any other comments, questions? Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Howdy, everybody. My name is Mitchell Krause. I live at 12 Patry Lane. I'm Sherry's neighbor. I mirror everything that's been said, and I'm so glad that I've moved into yet another community that rallies around itself. The last time I was before City Council was when the Chapman Bros were trying to do the asphalt plant behind the Humane Society, and boy, that was a fun one, but they didn't do it. Our community rallied. It was nice. We need to protect this green space. I'm here not only on behalf of myself, my partner, youth in general, who it's pretty tough to stay on PEI. We just found a house that we can barely afford. When the earlier presentation was talking about affordable housing around 300K, that's rough. That's rough. We got a problem, but that's another matter. I'm also here on behalf of EcoPEI. I sit on the board of EcoPEI, and I take this very seriously. As others have mentioned, this park it's not usable green space. The little bit that you can see where that tree line naturally happens, that's usable green space. The kids use it. The kids use the cul-de-sac. They use the streets. But in back there, it's nothing. We moved in about a month ago. Even I know it's nothing. If the city takes that deal, the front for the back, my God, that's not a deal at all. You're just getting ripped off. And I mean no offense to those that want to move in. It's a lovely area, but dismantling the cul-de-sac's not the way in. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Looking both ways. Do you want to sum up? If you want to, just please use the mic.
I appreciate everybody coming out and voicing their concerns. Definitely didn't see that coming. It's a little bit ironic because I grew up on 505 Malpeque Road and I lived there for 20 years, and where Patry Lane, thank you, Teresa, for correcting me, where Patry Lane is now is a hayfield owned by John Weeks where we used to play. So it's kind of funny to see it kind of come full circle. I'm not sure we'd really like to go forward with the development after all of that. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and that's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, do you want to move to the next one? If anyone that doesn't have to be here for C, you can leave. Thank you for coming in and presenting your views. Thank you. Yes, sir. Still have quorum? Yeah, we're just waiting for people just to move.
Yep. Kill. That should kill it, shouldn't it?
Is this the Arsenal brothers? You ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next item. And Mr. Quinn, there were some great points made there in the last discussion about that perk, so you may want to follow up on it. Thank you. Duly noted. Duly noted. Okay. So, Mr. Chair, can you introduce it?
It's the third, what is it, 4C, lot 18-2 Sherwood Road, PID number 455642. This is a request to rezone the subject property from Business Park Industrial M3 zone to Highway Commercial C2 zone, and to amend the official plan designation from industrial to commercial in order to construct 3 apartment buildings that will provide 200 dwelling units. You
Okay. Yes, I am okay. So who's the, Robert, you're going to present? Thank you.
Good evening, members of council, your worship, and Mr. Chair, and members of the public. As it was summed up, tonight is a public meeting to hear the concept and proposal for 3 apartments that will equate to 200 additional residential units, so apartment units. The applicant is requesting both an official plan designation, that's basically the broader community vision. So basically what they're asking for is to turn the subject property from industrial, which is designated currently, to commercial, and then change the zoning, which deals with the entitlements of the land. So that's actually what would permit the use to occur on the site, from the Business Park Industrial M3 zone to the Highway Commercial C2 zone. I know that I've had some questions in regards to why the proposed zone was going to a C2 zone rather than a residential zone, so I would just basically clear that up front. The applicant's proposing to go to basically a C2 zone because, as you can see here on the ortho photo, and this shows basically the zoning map of the surrounding area. So as you can see to the south, you essentially have, this is all C2 zoned land here, designated for some commercial, and I think people and surrounding residents are aware that there's currently apartment developments either that have been constructed or are in the process of being constructed. And then from onto the west side of the property, you have an institutional zone. That's actually the Maritime Electric Substation. And then you get into more lower density residential. So those are like R1S, so single detached residential zone lots. To the north of the subject site, so basically north of Sherwood Road, we have CDA. So that CDA is basically comprehensive development area. So that land is basically held in reserve until a developer comes with a proposal to council. It goes through the same process as this application is going through, basically a zoning amendment process, and essentially would have to detail what would be occurring on the subject lands. So currently, as of today, there's no plans to develop that northern portion of Sherwood Road. The application tonight is just to rezone this to C2 commercial. And the purpose of the C2 commercial, again, is to construct 3 apartment buildings that will equate to 200 apartment units. The C2 zone has step-down zones in it, so that basically means that any basically commercial use could occur in there, but it also steps down to the R4 and the R3, which is medium density residential, which permits apartment buildings. So that's why the applicant's proposing to rezone it to a C2 zone rather than go to like an R3, for example, because that would essentially bring in what we would call in the planning world spot rezoning, which generally isn't supported. So that's just to keep the zone consistent with the development that's occurring to the south of the subject site there. This is the basically subdivision plan. So this concept is Minna Jane Drive. So this would be a future road extension of Minna Jane Drive that would connect up to Sherwood Road here with Malpeque Road up here. So basically, the development itself would be abutted by Minna Jane Drive, but primary access would be onto Sherwood Road here. And so that kind of sums up the application and kind of the intent of why the applicant was proposing to go to a C2 zone and to a commercial designation. Dave Arsenault, who is the developer, is here tonight, and I believe he has also a presentation that he would like to present, which includes some schematics and drawings and renderings of the concept that they're proposing. And I can answer any questions as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. So, Mr. Arsenault, do you want to go to the podium and just make your presentation? Just trying to keep it within 10 minutes or less. You know, give us the Coles notes.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight and sticking around after the events that unfolded before us here. Anyways, my name is David Arsenault. So our family operates a couple of different family businesses locally in Charlottetown, Cornwall, and Summerside, and we're across the Maritimes as well with our construction company. So I'm just going to run through a couple of schematics of the general layout and the look and feel of the buildings that we're proposing, and then we're going to open it up for questions at the end. So, I'm going to kind of try and talk as I go here. But this is the general layout that we have. So you'll see, and I've had my designer add Minna Jane Drive in there under the assumption that it's going to be extended at one point in the future to connect onto Sherwood Road, which is, I believe, in the master plan or in the I'm not sure what plan it's in, but it is an intention of the developer of that easement, that owns that easement. So we've laid it out so that Sherwood Road can be the main access for all three buildings, and that's not to say that an eventual access onto Minna-Jane Drive wouldn't be an option in the future if that was a way to ease any traffic concerns or to spread out the traffic flow in and out of the buildings. 200 units, a lot of units, and it's quite a bit of traffic. So we've kind of gotten a head start on that issue, I guess, right out of the gate. So these buildings are your first one that you see here close to Sherwood Road is a 5-story, 60-unit apartment building. These buildings are all 100% residential apartment units. Your second building is kind of a mirror image across the parking lot of another 60-unit, and then our third building back in the corner is an 80. It's spec'd right now as an 80-unit apartment building with underground parking. Building 1 and Building 2 our plan right now is for grade level parking only on those two buildings. Our first two buildings here, 1 and 2, are where our affordable units are going to be. So we have a plan to allot 10% of the units in the development as affordable units. And any questions on that, if you want to get into specifics, we can talk about it after. Next slide here is just more facade and rendering of one of the buildings. That'd be building number 2, I guess, across the parking lot and looking towards the front of the building. Next, we're just going to run through a couple of renders here. So that's your building number 3 with the underground parking garage underneath. We tried to just kind of stick with a design that was a mix of modern and traditional. So nothing too out of place, but also a little bit of a modern spin on things, kind of a modern farmhouse look almost. But anyways, this is build number 3. We'll go to the next slide here, and you'll show we are going to dedicate a section of green space. The lot's well laid out for a good green space dedication area. So that'll add up to about it'll be about 10% of the lot area will be dedicated to green space. So that's your requirement on a residential subdivision in the province if you're outside of the city and you're going to do. I'm not sure what the guidelines are in the city, but 10% of your space is supposed to be geared towards green space, which we're going to do here. That's another just photo of the facade and the look and feel, general look and feel of what the buildings are going to look like. We do invest in shrubbery, trees. We keep things well landscaped and well kept on all of our buildings that we have right now, and we plan to do that in the future. We develop buildings and we keep them as long-term investments is what our strategy is right now. So we do care about them. We live in the areas that we're building these in, so we take care of the properties that we have, and we don't let them go towards a situation where they become a nuisance to anyone in the surrounding areas. So this is, I think if everyone can read, it's kind of white on black there, but so basically to say why we believe it should go, the rezoning is a reasonable request is because of the like-kind structures in the area. In our opinion, it makes good planning sense. Throwing apartment buildings, 5 or 6-story apartment buildings, where there's no streetscape that lends itself to that type of development is not what we're trying to do here. We located, we kind of identified the area. It's in a location close to other buildings and close to other apartment tenants, and we think that is one of the main reasons that this is a good location for apartment buildings. One of the obvious cases or pros, I guess, is just increasing housing options. So we use programs that ensure affordability. We're going to prioritize barrier-free and accessible units so that we can make sure we have those options for housing for different folks who physically need physically accessible units, wider hallways, and sinks that a wheelchair can go underneath, and walker-friendly units and things of that nature. When you get into the code, there's a list of requirements that we stick to whenever we build our accessible units. We do all our buildings with an energy efficient design, so these buildings would be, just to kind of put a number on it, we'd be 25% passive. So there's a baseline code in the energy code, national energy code, and we beat that code with all of our buildings by at least 25%. And a lot of times we beat it even further than 25 if we can make the investment in the energy efficiency work. So the location again is it's central to a lot of jobs. It's central to a lot of schools, the university. It's close to the hospital. It's close to arterial roads, which put it in a good position for anyone who wants to live in Charlottetown but wants to be able to travel freely to other areas of the province as well, for work or for pleasure or for anything. We always allot a few units in our buildings for pet-friendly units, which seem to be in very low supply right now, but in very high demand, especially in a new construction building. And then we're a local builder. We keep products and services and subcontracts local. We manage locally, and we think that goes a long way when it comes to being a good landlord on PEI. So these are just a few concerns that I just wanted to kind of identify right out of the gate, because I'm sure they'll come in questions, and they've come in one letter that was received out of the 6 that were sent out to the neighboring properties, which is a very low number on a development this size. So traffic concerns is something that it's kind of obvious anytime you increase density in an area. Well, yeah, you kind of think of increased traffic, but basically I see this as an opportunity to improve Sherwood Road and improve the quality of the road, the width of the road. If we've got tenants in there who want to bike or take the bus, then we work on bike lanes and we work on bus routes. The eventual extension of Minna Jane Drive is also going to help. It's going to allow for reverting of traffic, and it's not going to allow for any, it's going to allow for increase of traffic, but in different locations and on different, right and left turning lanes that can help spread traffic and increase, your flow instead of just bogging things down with just putting units and not doing anything to help. So I think the one point you can make that Alex made earlier in one of the presentations was, the tax money that's going to come into the city on a development of this size, and what we can use those tax dollars for, and that could easily be allocated towards an improvement of Sherwood Road in between Malpeque and Lower Malpeque. So basically, when it comes to basically the point of this presentation is a change in zoning from industrial to commercial, and we're being transparent in saying that the commercial use of this property would be, if we were to get it rezoned, apartments. If this property doesn't get rezoned, then, and this is not a blackmail, this isn't, this is just basically saying that the property sits there as 5 acres of industrial zoned land, and it's not blackmail to say that the land could easily be used as a development of any number of things. I've got a list of permitted uses in the industrial zone, and it's automobile shop, automobile dealership, a service station, a club, so a nightclub, a commercial daycare center, convenience store, cultural establishment. You could put a garden center in there. You could do a rental service or equipment sales, so you could have a yard full of telehandlers in there that people come and rent. You could put in a marijuana production facility in there as the zoning sits right now. So if there's residents in the area with concerns about traffic and increased population, then I think that the way the zoning sits currently is a far less ideal outlook, I would call it, than 3 nice apartment buildings. And that's take that with a grain of salt, obviously, but that's my opinion, and that's what could be put there with the current zoning, which has been there since 2001. It was zoned CDA prior to 2001, and it was rezoned as M3 the industrial zone in 2001, and it's been that since 2001. So, so this isn't a surprise to anyone that these types of uses can go there. You see Seafood Express right next to it, right, which is a heavy, kind of commercial area. So, anyways, this just kind of outlines.
Can you just wrap it up? We're at 11 minutes.
You're at 11.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No.
Subject property is where it says subject property, right here, and you've got on my 3 yellow lines here. This is a lot for a 60-unit apartment building that is slated, I believe, or it's approved for a 60-unit apartment building. This is a 60-unit apartment building with residents in it since last year. This right here is a 97-unit apartment building under construction. So apartments make sense in the area, in my opinion. Does anyone have any questions?
So just before we leave, Councillor Yankoff has a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
That's it. Bring it down to you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I'm not really doing very well with this mic tonight. Thank you, David, for your report. It was really informative. I appreciate that. Just had a quick question, and I noticed in Robert's report, he indicated that there was lack of amenities for the residents, as well as it is isolated from other residential supports like schools, recreation facilities, and active transportation. So I'm just wondering, would you ever put any consideration to increasing the green space within all these apartments for the residents, so they could have, because it is so isolated? Just wondering if that would be any consideration.
It would be for sure if we can come up with a design that still makes sense with 200 units, that we can add more green space. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's not something that, the less asphalt and building that's on that land, the less it costs us, obviously, and the nicer the property. So that's always we always try and, I think it's kind of you kind of do that when you're planning, is you want to minimize your uptake of the lot and maximize the amount of space that you don't need to touch, because, well, A, it retains the beauty, and B, it saves money. So I think that's a no-brainer to try and do that, and I'll look at it for sure to see what kind of
Thank you.
what kind of design we need to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor McCabe, question to clarify? Yep, there you are.
Yeah, no, I was just going to go back. So I'm trying to get the bearings down of where this lot is located versus the substation for the Maritime
Substation
Electric.
is here and in here. Okay. It's so I think when I read the report, there were 6 letters sent out for properties within 100 meters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to guess that, I don't know, Robert, can you correct me? Are those only residential owners, or are those commercial and residential? Okay, so that was probably Seafood Express, the group that owns this building, Maritime Electric, and then would they have to be residents, or could they be landowners as well? Any owner, yeah. So there were no people who live in houses that received letters, except for was there maybe 2? Sorry, I shouldn't have said no. There were 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not in anyone's backyard.
Do you have an idea where it is now, Councillor McCabe?
That's where the substation is, right
Yeah.
there, where my little thing is on there.
So the 2 mics are open. Just if you're going to present, please introduce yourself, where you live.
John Campus. I live in the 2 Sherwood Road. It's what's on the very other end of closer to the lower Malpeque Road. I've been there since '79. Hopefully, if everything goes to plan, in about 30, maybe 35 years, I'll be buried in the other end of the Sherwood Road. And maybe in the interim down the road, well, I might be in one of your apartments. I like the idea of the apartments, but I think they're too big. I don't think we need the traffic. I'm scared of the traffic. For starters, I think you just need to get together with the other developer. If that Ninja Jane is going to be put out there, then if you want green space, that street that you have going on to Sherwood Road could be the green space, but we don't need 2 roads going onto that road right now, or 2 lanes. We don't have the street to have anybody walking on. There's no sidewalks there. I'm expecting to see Jason down the road sometime when he comes knocking on my door, and that's going to be one of the big requests that I'm going to have for him. The other thing is, too, is how many school kids do you think might be in those buildings? Because our school is being renovated in the very near future, but I don't think this plan was part of that. This influx of people wasn't part of that plan.
Okay.
So I'm worried about the number of kids that's going to be swapping that school. I'm worried about that corner at the Sherwood Road and the Lower Malpeque Road, because right now when I'm trying to get out of my driveway, it's just crazy. At supper time, or between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock, the other night I counted 11 cars backed up on that corner waiting. You sit there and you hear cars squealing the tires because they're trying to get out of there because they're taking a chance. You hear people blowing the horn. So that corner needs to be looked at if there's going to be any more traffic put on that road. And then the other thing too is that I've traveled up and down that road quite a bit, and there's a lot of snow right where your building is going to be. If that big building is going to put it there, it's going to act like a big snow fence maybe. So I'm kind of worried about how much more snow we're going to have up there. So I think number one, we have to for sure get together with the other developer so that there's not two lanes on that Sherwood Road. We have to make sure that the city is going to do something as far as the sidewalks and the corners, because it's not safe now. It's scary. And then the other thing is that the school. What's going to happen with the school? So those are the three questions I have there for that.
Yeah. And John, just to clarify, that corner you're talking about is up by your place, Lower Malpeque Road and Sherwood Road, where people are left turning on.
So that's the
Lower Malpeque Road and the Sherwood Road.
Yeah.
John, that would be towards this way, right?
Correct.
That's
Not
up the other end.
Yeah, or up here.
That corner there where the Seafood Express is now, we used to call that Accident Corner years ago.
Yeah,
because there used to be more access you can shake a stick at, but since they put the bypass in there, that's a lot of the traffic has come off of the Sherwood Road, which is great, but it's definitely.
So that intersection
increasing.
right there is what you're talking about.
We used to call that Accident Corner.
Yeah, yeah.
EMS, Island EMS is about 15 or 20 years late getting there, because it would have been a great spot for them. But
Yeah.
anyway, like I say, our biggest concern is right where the property is. There's a lot of snow gets on that road there. The traffic, the entryways going on there, I think we need to, the two property folks got to get together. If that's going to be a future extension, that's going to happen now. I think it's a little bit too big myself. I'm not a big fan of having 200 all of a sudden more people in that direct area that's going to be driving, and the school is one thing.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd like to ask, it's not part of this, on the north side of the city, up in the west end, right across from our place, what is the zoning for that there now?
What, the mole property?
The old, it's just a farm, there's corn.
The mole property, which is the northwest corner of Sherwood Road, Malpeque Road?
Is that the malls?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, that's up for sale. That's still farmland.
Okay.
So
Still
they'd have to
farmland.
rezone that.
They can't rezone that, it's still farmland.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you for that answer, but, yeah.
Did you want to?
Sure, I mean, I can just comment and just say, like, number one question with the sidewalks, I'll probably just pass that on over to you guys. Number two question with the school, if there was anyone from the province here, I'll pass that over to them. But to answer your questions on school kids, the only kind of thing I can compare this to is a development that we just did in Cornwall in kind of a similar location. It's got, it's off the main highway going, like Main Street going through Cornwall. It's just tucked in behind the APM Center, and it's 48 units. And of 48 units, there's I think 3 school kids in that building. It's 2 buildings.
That's on the Ferry Road?
What's that?
That's on the Ferry Road there, isn't it?
No, it's off of the Mercedes Drive. So it's in behind the APM Center, but directly behind the APM Center. So that's the only comparison I can kind of give on that and we just marketed those units as similar units to what these buildings will be, and similar pricing and stuff. So that's kind of the, probably 1 or 2% of total residents would be school children. But that's not to say that we don't market one way or the other. We don't discriminate against school, like, you know what I mean? If there's school kids, if there's families with school kids lined up to rent the units, then that they'll be filled with school kids. But that's usually not the case. And then Minna Jane Drive, the connection into Sherwood Road it's something that will work with so the city doesn't own that easement yet. It's owned by a private developer that isn't me. So you're right, that is a conversation that needs to happen. So I've reached out to them already and haven't heard back on that Minna Jane Drive extension. You know, when that's going to happen, whether or not we can tie into it. Don't have any answers yet, so I can't really speak to it, and it's not my call to say. And then that intersection, I mean that's obviously something that's got to be, you know, Sherwood Road in general. I think in that area is just, you know, the shoulders kind of wash out. There was a letter that made a lot of sense that came in to say, you know, if this is going to happen, then traffic needs to be a concern, and Sherwood Road needs to be a kind of a on the list, or it's got to have some sort of allocation toward it to get it fixed up, because it's choppy and it doesn't have good shoulders, it doesn't have the bike lanes, it doesn't have the sidewalks. So that's something that
The north side of the Sherwood Road does wash out quite.
Yeah. I know there was a letter that said that, which it does. You can tell when if it's a big rain and you pull off to the side, if there's an ambulance coming behind you, then it's choppy on the side. So anyways, we're just I hope that answers some of your questions. But thank you.
John, I'm just going to ask Robert, the mole property on the north side of Sherwood Road, it is farmland, but is it zoned CDA? Could you just clarify that? It's a CDA, so it's a comprehensive development area, correct? What's north there?
Your Worship, are you referring to this portion here?
That's the mole property.
Yeah, so that's CDA. So as I said previously,
But
it's reserved land basically until someone comes in with a comprehensive plan, and that would have to go through a rezoning application like tonight.
Correct.
So it would go through public consultation, residents would be circulated with letters, and it would have to be approved by council.
My question is on the west end, on the lower Malpeque Road. That looks like
That's CDA also.
That whole west,
Yeah.
the whole north side.
Slick Rhiners owns that property across from you.
Who is it?
Slick Rhiners.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. That's CDA too.
Slick owns the corner across from Seafood.
He owns that
But-
one too, right down to Lower Malpeque Road.
Yeah.
He's a big landowner. Yeah. Just Councillor. Okay. Mr. Arsenault, Councillor Yankoff has a question for you. Yeah. Just get her question first.
So the question is just on rental rates for the apartment units, like the price per month. So right now we're working through it's a lot of that's going to depend on timing. So if this goes through, you know, 2 or 3 public meetings and a couple of different rounds of council or back and forth, you know, that could take 2 years to run through the development process on it, the pre-development process on it. So that's not me kicking the can on the question. That's, you know, literally just saying I don't want to say a number now, and, you know, obviously it increases as you go in most cases. But if those buildings were coming up for rent right now today, they would be, you know, a 2-bedroom apartment would be in the range of $1,250 and $1,350 a month before utilities, and then an affordable unit. So 10% of those units would be, today's numbers are $674 a month for a 1-bedroom, $800 a month for a 2-bedroom, and $900 a month for a 3-bedroom. And full disclaimer, those are 2019 numbers. So that's, you know, like I said, if this project, these are 200 units, and kind of to get back to you there too, John, this would be, you know, a 5-year or a 6-year or 7-year plan. So it'd be, you know, one of these buildings is going to take, you know, a good year or 14 months to construct. So there's going to be, you know, it's going to, and we won't be doing all 3 at the same time. So it is going to be, you know, I would say at least a 4-year plan from construction to completion, potentially 5 or 6. So it's kind of an ease in over 5 or 6 years. But yeah, I hope that answers like that. That's my answer today. If those units were available and ready to rent today, and that's going to change in 2 years if that's what it takes to get these buildings up. So.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Yankoff.
So go ahead, Councillor Jankoff.
Thanks, David. I think you answered my question because it was around the affordable housing.
Yeah.
And that was just making sure that a lot of people will call things affordable housing,
Yeah.
but they don't go through the actual guidelines of the
Yeah, and they don't
25
tell you,
25
they don't tell you
yeah.
what the rents are gonna be, yeah.
Right,
I've
and
seen that,
I think
sure,
it's like
yeah.
outlined by CMHC, it's 25% of household income.
Yeah, so CMHC defines it as below, I think the province says 25, CMHC says 30.
Okay.
And that's what CMHC sets their rates at. So their rates are right here for Charlottetown for 2019, and those are the numbers I just told
Great.
Isaac there on the side here. So.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, no problem. And that's all public information on CMHC website.
Thank you. Sir, just introduce yourself.
My name is Morris Steves. I live on Lower Malpeque Road. However, I'm on the corner. My main concern is transportation and safety. Sherwood Road has already been addressed, being very narrow, no travel means for pedestrians, bikes, what have you. Commonwealth Boulevard, busy with teachers, buses, and parents driving their kids to and from school. Access to West Rowley is difficult, or to Lower Malpeque. Lower Malpeque Road, safety for the kids is very concerning. It's difficult to cross with most traffic exceeding speed limits, despite having crosswalks on both Salisbury and Commonwealth. An additional 200 cars with the traffic that's there now would make it even worse. The entrances to Lower Malpeque from Sherwood and Commonwealth are not much more than 300 to 400 feet apart. And at peak hours, it's difficult to move anywhere. On a personal note, our house, being on the corner, is located midway between these two difficult exits. On many occasions, we've had to turn left just to get out of our own driveway. You can't turn right, turn right, because you can't turn left to go downtown even. Since moving there at our present location, which is roughly 15 years, we have seen traffic increase drastically on Lower Malpeque Road, as you know. In addition, we have been in the unfortunate position of seeing very many close mishaps. Cars are not stopping. Kids are trying to get across. There's been close mishaps, vehicle versus vehicle, vehicles versus pedestrians, especially kids. It just appears that something, if this is going to proceed with all these extra cars, then something has got to be done concerning the safety of everyone. I can appreciate city police doing their best, but it appears that if nothing else, maybe there's going to have to be traffic lights on one corner or both, although it seems a bit haphazard to have traffic lights on both exits, but something has to be done. And I would ask that much consideration be taken before allowing that project to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Can you take the mic to him? Do you want to stay seated there, sir, and you can take the mic to you? Yeah. Just sit in your chair and ask your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, and your name?
My name is Nelson Hurry. This is my wife, Sandy. We've lived on the beach, we've lived on the Sherwood Road since 1967. So you can imagine what we've seen in traffic buildup. When we moved there, it was a dirt road, and the spring it had ruts that deep. But anyway, today it's hardly safe for me to pick up my paper in the morning with the traffic on the Sherwood Road. It's zoom, 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 zoom. Very few of them are going the speed limit. You know, it's incredible to watch it. And then on the weekends, the young fellas get flying on their little cars, and they go zoom. They'll get at the top of the road, and they're by Morris's place, and they'll rev up the engine and choom, and they go by my driveway, and it's a blink of an eye. Really. But anyway, 200 units up there is going to be more than 200 cars. It'll be more like 300 cars. The roads aren't built for it. I think we'd better get the roads built before we get more people traveling on them. And as the guy said, there's work to be done on the Sherwood Road. It's a mess. We need perhaps traffic lights at Morris's Corner. I have a son that lives on the Sherwood Road, right beside me, number 21, and he's got 2 kids. He wouldn't let the kids out on the street at all. It's just craziness. Anything else I should say?
Yes.
What?
I've lived there for 53 years, too.
Can you just take the mic and share your story?
And it's fine to say it's 200 units, but 200 units will probably be 300 cars. Where does the recreation go with the children that are going to be there also? There's no room for anything there at all. When Nelson talks about people and who goes through that road, it has a straight line on it right now, but they still pass on it. They still do not stick to what how fast they can go. And sometimes we see motorcycles go so fast you don't even see them, you hear them. And we're a long piece from the road. We're the house that's way back that nobody knows we're there. So to us, and we didn't get a letter on that, and we're directly across from Maritime Electric Substation. So I was kind of a little ticked on that, but yes, when we moved there, we'd sink to the axles. It was such a dirty old road, and there was nobody else on it. So it's a big change, and it's going to be a bigger change. But something has to be done to handle the units, the cars, and the children that are going to be there, because there's not going to be any place for recreation for them. And the road can't take the traffic. No. Thank you.
Thank you. He'll just pick the mic up there, sir. Yes, I know where the home is, Mr. Hurry. I was on that road there a couple of times, and it's pretty dark up back where you live. Okay.
Doug Miller, resident of Sherwood Road for 20 years. I do not support this request, Mr. Arsenault, due to the size and the amount of traffic it's going to generate. The proposed zoning amendment of the 3 very large apartment buildings doesn't respect the general makeup and character of the existing neighborhood. How large are proposed apartment buildings? I'll address this later in the presentation. City of Charlottetown official plan, page 15, paragraph 2 states, and I'll shorten it. Our objective is to promote compact urban form and infill development, as well as the efficient use of infrastructure and public services facilities. Our policy shall be to allow moderately higher densities in neighborhoods, multiple family dwellings in suburban centers, and around these centers, provided development is at a density that will not adversely affect existing low-density housing. It's highly unlikely this proposed zoning application for 200 apartment units will not adversely affect the existing low-density housing. Points to consider is most obviously the increase of traffic has been stated. It was stated in the Planning Board meeting of October 5th, 2020 by Deputy Mayor Jason Cody, and it was echoed by Rosemary Herbert, RM, echoed the concerns of Deputy Mayor Cody. Ms. Herbert also felt the property is not a great area to be developed for residential uses. Charlottetown Airport is located at the end of the Sherwood Road. EMS is located. Fire station could be located in the area, and the trucks could use this road as well. A note, Sherwood Road is a designated truck route as per the land use map of Charlottetown. Major point to consider is there is going to be a lot of traffic from the shopping mall area from Mina Jane Drive when it's approved. Additionally, there's 217 units, apartment units presently being built, under construction, or anticipated to be built. As the mall area develops, one would expect significant additional traffic. Concerns in regards to the zoning application. Highway Commercial C2 was addressed earlier in the thing. It is an apartment building, and the residential R4 or R4A zoning seems to be a better fit and more appropriate for the proposal. Points of interest to the developer and the planning committee. Site information on the rezoning application shows lot 18-2 at 5.92 acres, and the letter of rationale shows a lot size of 4.77 acres. Which is the correct acreage?
4.77, 5.92 is including the easement. That's going to be the connection to Mina Jane Drive.
That's what I assumed the road. Okay, I believe that the lot 18-2, for all intents and purposes, would be considered a corner lot based on the knowledge of the Mina Jane Drive future extension. Would that be correct?
A corner lot?
Yes.
Not right now, but yeah.
It will be.
If that ever
Yeah.
continues out.
The reason I stated that is 4.77 acres equals 207,781 square feet. Interior lots require 1,237.9 square feet equals 167 units. Corner lot at 1,507 square feet equals 137 units. Also, the height maximum is 49.2 under the regulations. In the planning package, none of that information was provided during the application process. Of size, dimensions, it was omitted from the application. Highway Commercial C2 zone incorporates all permitted use in the following zones: apartment and residential 4A, subject to the regulations permitted uses in 4A zone. Institutional, 22 permitted uses. Mixed-use corridor, 12 permitted uses. East Royalty mixed-use center zone, 19 permitted uses. My concern to the planning board regarding Highway C2 commercial zoning: if there was something to change for any reason, i.e. apartment buildings have been overbuilt, no longer in demand, or project is no longer economical, this lot 18-2 would have approximately additional 52 permitted uses under the C2 zoning. The current M3 zone allows for 28 permitted uses, some of which are already permitted use under the institutional mixed-use corridor, East Royalty mixed-use village corridor, which are covered by C2. City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw, specifically the 310.2, if the application for rezoning shall include, and that's what I was addressing, was item D, drawings to illustrate any proposed buildings for the lot, and detailed concept plan with floor plans, elevations of the buildings, and detailed site plan showing the location of buildings and any required landscape areas. This has not been provided in the application. It's very relevant to the size and height and scope of the buildings.
Mr.
Question:
Miller,
how was this important information
Mr. Miller,
overlooked the application process?
can you just sum it up? You're at 5+ minutes.
Sorry?
No, that's just trying to.
How can the planning board determine the suitability of the proposal without this important information? And in conclusion, I respectfully request that both amendments pertaining to this rezoning application be denied. It's also important to note the Guardian October 19, 2020 report at IRAC recently overturned council's decision regarding an 18-unit apartment building on Palmer's Lane. The planning board in this case felt the apartment building was not appropriate for the neighborhood because of the existing character of the neighborhood and issues with respect to transitioning buffering. I believe some of these concerns would also apply to this application. Thank you very much for the opportunity to express my opinions and thoughts regarding this application.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you very much. Okay. Just trying to keep it fair for everyone. So if there's anyone else that'd like to speak, please take one of the mics. We'll put the green light on. Yeah. No one else? So if you do wish to forward any comments via email, it's planning@charlottetown.ca. All lowercase. Okay? Well, I think that's it. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for cooperating with the times and restrictions, but a lot was said tonight, and it'll go back to the planning board, and that planning board meeting, just check out our website, charlottetown.ca, and that's open to the public also. So I need a motion to adjourn the session. Moved by Councillor Duffy, second by Councillor Yankoff. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Have a great evening.